Oh, nice job there, Mark. Very well done. It's 6:20. Morning after Selection Sunday, one of the best days of the year, unless you're a Mizzou fan and your team goes 0-19 in basketball this year in conference play.
I was going to say, what was that music?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I love you, Mizzou fans, but I know it's been a tough sledding for you this season. So, Selection Sunday to me is the unofficial start of spring. And by the way, I don't mean to mock Mizzou fans because my team, Villanova, didn't make the tournament either. All right, we lose a Hall of Fame coach in Jay Wright, and we've missed the tournament for 2 straight years now. So I'm with you. I'm watching from home, so to speak. But yesterday is always a great day. You know, your post-daylight saving time, the sun's staying out a little later. You can hear and feel that spring in the air. Not this morning when it's 25 degrees, but for the better part of the last week or so, you could. And now you get set to fill out that bracket, baby. So I'm going to give you 3 winners and 3 losers from yesterday's Selection Sunday show. 3 winners. I'm rolling with Kansas as a winner. KU is as banged up as it gets. They literally got embarrassed last week in the NCAA tournament or the Big 12 tournament by Cincinnati. You don't know if Dickinson and McCullough are going to play, although it looks like at least Dickinson's going to be a go per Bill Self last night. But they still end up landing a number 4 seed in the Big Dance. And by the way, they do it in a bracket that's not all that tough in the Midwest. The 1 seed out there is Purdue, a Purdue team that is, I don't want to say consistently soiled themselves in the Big Dance, but they have lost in the first round as a 1 seed, right? That happened.
Last year, right?
Bingo. So they are no stranger to being upset. If Kansas is healthy, they've got a pretty nice path to the Sweet 16. They play Samford in the first round and then either Gonzaga or McNeese in the second round. They don't have to play a power conference team here in the first couple of games of the NCAA tournament. That's a break for a KU team that kind of hobbled its way into this tournament. And by the way, I'm more concerned about the Samford game in round 1 than I am Gonzaga or McNeese. Why is that? Samford is 7th in college basketball in shooting the three-pointer at about 39%. Kansas has been unable to stop the three-pointer all season long. They are 152nd in the nation in three-point defense. So I'm more worried about that 13 seed mark in Samford than I am Gonzaga or McNeese.
Yeah, the three-pointers is very concerning. You look at the BYU second half, and KU lost that home game to BYU. Samford gives me some BYU vibes.
Yes. I mean, they just are bombs away from downtown. And if they're hitting, KU could be one and done. But if not, they could also find themselves in the Sweet 16. And just so you know how spoiled you are, KU fans, let me put this into perspective for you. KU is a top 4 team, top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament for a 23rd straight year. Nobody else in the country has done that for more than 4 straight seasons. Purdue and Baylor have each been top 4 seeds now for 4 straight tournaments. KU has done it for 23 in a row. Put that in the perspective, just so you know how spoiled you are. And I mean that as a compliment, all right? You guys have earned it. But just realize, no matter how this tournament goes, how incredible this run has been this entire century for the Kansas Jayhawks. Baylor also comes out a winner. They're a 3 seed in the West region. The West region is by far the worst region. North Carolina is the 1. They shouldn't have been the 1. I'll get to more of that coming up. Arizona is the 2. Arizona always craps out in the tournament. They always come up short. So suddenly you look at a 3 seed like Baylor, and it's like, hey, why not? But if you want complete chaos, look at this West region. To me, you can make a case for like almost any of these 16 teams finding themselves in an Elite Eight game. That's going to be the region of chaos in the West. Then you go to the Texas Longhorns. Texas also limped its way into this tournament. I mean, they did not have themselves a good NCAA tournament, but they end up getting themselves a 7 seed, and they play a team out of the play-in game. They're going to get someone out of the play-in game, so they don't know who their opponent's going to be. But here's a Texas team that lost to Kansas State, first game of the NCAA tournament, lost to Baylor 2 games prior to that. They limped into this tournament, and they end up solidly with a 7 seed. And by the way, Kansas State was nowhere to be found. Now, I think we knew Kansas State was not going to make this tournament. Once there were a bunch of upsets in the conference tournaments over the weekend, you knew that Kansas State was not going to make it. K-State had to beat Iowa State on Thursday night to have a chance, and they didn't do it. But then you got all these upsets in the conference tournaments, and it was like, okay, K-State's not making it. But Texas limped in, and they were solidly in with a 7 seed. Now, 3 losers from Selection Sunday. Oklahoma got squeezed. They were the first team out. They had a solid NCAA tournament resume, and they got bounced. They didn't make it. And then they turned down the NIT like a bunch of losers. Would you go play in the NIT? I mean, come on, let your players play and your coaches coach. I don't know why Oklahoma, who hasn't been to an NCAA tournament now in 4 years, thinks it's too good for the NIT. Play basketball. That's what you guys do. I think that's so lame when teams are turning down the NIT. But Oklahoma did get host. BYU also got host. Now, here's why BYU got host. They are a 6 seed in the toughest region, which is the East. That's where you've got UConn, Iowa State, Illinois. But BYU, when you look at the numbers, the committee admitted BYU should have been a 5 seed. They got a 6 seed. Why? Because they can't play on Sundays. So BYU got moved down to a 6 seed so they could accommodate them to play on Thursday and potentially Saturday instead of having to play on Friday and Sunday, when BYU, of course, due to its religious affiliation, does not want to play any sports on Sundays. The Big 12 has accommodated them. They don't play any sports like baseball on Sunday. But still, the thank you they got from the committee was putting them as a 6 seed in the toughest region, the East region, in the entire bracket. And then last but not least, when it comes to losers from Selection Sunday, Iowa State. Iowa State just won the conference tournament for the toughest league in America in the Big 12. They blew out the number 1 team in the country, Houston, by nearly 30 points in the championship game. I thought that Iowa State should have been the final 1 seed. Instead, what ended up happening, they got a 2 seed, and they got a 2 seed in the toughest bracket in the entire tournament, that being the East. They potentially have to go through UConn, the defending national champs, and the top 1 seed to get themselves to a Final Four. I mean, that is so unfair to an Iowa State team that just did what it did over the last 5 days here in Kansas City. They win the conference tournament, they blow out the competition, and congratulations, you have to go into the toughest region in the entire bracket. And you've got UConn there as well.
At the very least, a 2 seed in the Midwest.
At the very least, that's what they could have done and should have done for Iowa State. But it's always a great week. Even if you're a casual fan, let's be honest, you're talking about filling out that bracket this morning at the water cooler. And Mark will have his picks at some point this week. We'll get to those here on KCMO.